capital of the world, and yet we can't get our local government to bring innovative, creative solutions to solving homelessness and building affordable housing, even to cleaning up our filthy streets. We have big problems in the city. We need big solutions, and we need leaders who are determined and who are going to work every single day to get those problems fixed. As supervisor, I want to build a lot of affordable housing. I've spent the past 17 years of my career as a urban development attorney building affordable housing in communities around the Bay Area, thousands of units. That's a background nobody on the Board of Supervisors has, and I want to bring my practical, real-world experience to the board and get affordable housing units built in the city. I want to solve our traffic congestion and fix our transit. Now, that may seem like a tall order, but when I was elected to the Board of Trustees of City College in 2012, saving City College seemed like a pretty tall order, and we did that. I made the tough calls that we had to make to save the college, and I helped push back against the accreditor. Today, City College is open, it's accredited, and it's free. I want to solve homelessness in this city. When my mother suffered from mental illness for most of her life, and when I was younger, she was homeless for a period of time. When I was older, I was able to get her the care that she needed, and I know the realities of what it takes to get folks off the street.
I'm honored to be the District 8 Supervisor, following in the steps of leaders from Harvey to Scott Wiener. I'm a husband and a dad, and I'm grateful to my family for supporting me in this work. I'm an activist. I'm not a politician, and I work to get results, not to build a career. I fought to create and defend our equal benefits law, which led to over 8,000 companies, large and small, providing domestic partner benefits across the country to hundreds of thousands, not millions of employees. I fought as a member of ACT UP to get treatment for people with HIV, and later I fought to help found our Getting to Zero effort, which seeks zero new HIV infections, zero HIV-related deaths, and zero stigma. I fought to make sure to help get our homeless youth off the streets. Half of them are LGBTQ, 13% HIV positive. We have expanded services in this very building for young people to drop in, to get connected with services, to get food. I fight to have the city build more housing, the defining issue in our time, and the ultimate answer to solving homelessness. In just 10 months as supervisor, from supporting Home SF, the density bonus, and new affordable housing requirements to getting new funding for homeless housing and services, I work every day to tackle our city's housing crisis. And this is what is at stake in this election. Are we for the politics of no when it comes to housing, or are we going to say yes to new housing and our city's future?
Arguments about housing policy in the city degenerate into a fight between people who think that you know everything you need to know about housing policy based on your first 2 weeks of college econ, on the one hand, and on the other hand, people who say that econ does not work in San Francisco and that there is no law of supply and demand within the 7x7 borders of the city. Clearly, the truth is somewhere in between. So know that we are not going to house the most vulnerable folks, the folks who are afraid of being evicted, desperately afraid of being evicted from their rent-controlled units, the youngsters who are coming here, many of the folks who work in our stores and folks who are doing our art. We are not going to be able to house those people if we do not make housing for lower income people, for middle class people, a priority at City Hall. And so I know that we need to identify sites, we need to acquire sites, we need to provide revenue to actually build housing. As I said, I've built thousands of units of affordable housing around the Bay Area. It is a passion for me.
Well, the first part is that we've passed significant legislation in the time I've been on the board. One is Home SF, which lets you build up to 2 extra stories if it's 20% affordable. That's a major advance forward, because one of the crises that we face in the city is we're building no middle-class housing to speak of. So when I was working at UCSF, I was down at Mission Bay. They could not run enough shuttles back and forth between Mission Bay and 16th Street Bar. Why? Well, it's because there's a ton of housing down there. You go down there, there's all these units. And beautifully, there's about 1,800 low-income units sprinkled in amongst those. But there's no middle-income housing.
Where do you stand on navigation centers in District 8?
I have been urging and working to try to get the $6.5 million that's in the budget for a navigation center. That's all the money that's currently in the budget for a navigation center, to have one located for young people, which is required by law in District 8. Remember, we can't force people off the streets. One of the reasons that they don't want to go places is because they can't safely use their substances. And a strong harm reduction based safe injection site where we can work with people and help to link them with services and help them deal with their addiction are one of the ways we're going to be able to tackle this problem.
Now, we need safe injection sites, we need harm reduction, we need more case management, but I take issue with the notion that we can't force people off the streets. Some of the people who you see on the streets are people, and I say this as someone who had a mentally ill mother who could not take care of herself, some of these are people who we need to get off the streets whether or not they recognize that they need to come off the streets. And if we need to go to Sacramento and change our state laws around involuntary commitment, we need to have that conversation with them.
The biggest provider of mental health services in the city, the biggest mental health provider of services in the state and in the country are jails and prison systems. And I actually agree with my colleague that we need to reverse that and invest in mental health facilities and not in jails.
Do you support SFPD getting tasers, and why?
Not right now, I don't. So the problem we're trying to solve with tasers is the fact that police are engaging in conduct which kills minorities and low-income people in communities of color.
We do have the Obama Justice Department recommendations that the police be provided with tasers. I mean, the sheriff said tasers. I think the real answer is actually to expand the size of our police force. And during the budget last year, I was the only member of the Board of Supervisors to advocate for additional classes. Because we know that presence, and not, we have people doing community policing in the community on foot, that the number of property crimes go down. I do think we need to have additional, more classes of police officers, so that's one. Two is, I do think that we need to devote more housing, more money towards ending homelessness. So that includes additional mental health beds, additional behavioral health beds, additional combined units like the LEAD program, which is Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. And I really would like to see the fulfillment of the promise to more than anything, to our homeless youth. We got 1.5 million, and that's just a start. There should be no kids on our street.
And youth homelessness would be a budget priority for me, and in fact, I'm proud that just last week at the Board of Trustees of City College, we started moving forward with creating housing for our homeless students at City College to create a pathway that will take kids from there to along San Francisco State. But I also think that we need to make transit a priority in our budget. And we have 2 Safeway parking lots in our district that are bad urban land uses. And I will spend not all of my time, some of my time as supervisor trying to cajole owners of properties like those 2 to think about building density on those sites.
I want to go back to rent control.
Costa Hawkins.
Repeal it.
Thank you.
Let's be real, we can't change the Alice Act. We can't repeal
Why not?
Costa Hawkins. Just say what we can do as the supervisors. Support it, encourage David Chu, Phil Ting, Scott Wiener. But at the end of the day, what can we do to keep people in their homes today?
The Board of Supervisors has been talking about a private right of action and passing resolutions to create a private right of action since 2012. So I think that the measure that may be being brought forth to address that is short-circuiting a ballot measure that was actually going to force this to happen and create an action. We should be building housing for lots of folks, but including teachers, and I don't have a problem with a teacher housing development. In fact, I'm hopeful that the Balboa Reservoir will include housing for City College teachers. But we need to pay our teachers a salary that allows them to live in San Francisco. I do think that the city has suffered over the last 6 years from a failure of leadership. And although I like the mayor a lot, I think he is a decent person and has done a lifetime of service for the city. I think he should not have run.
Yeah.
I only met the mayor once, and smaller group, but a community budgeting meeting before I was appointed. Now, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's dedicated to making the city better. And I didn't come into this because I've always wanted to be supervisor. There's a lot of great and amazing things happening here. We have problems with homelessness. We have problems with crime. And the only way to do that is to continue to move forward. We build more housing, lots of housing, at all income levels. That's how we're going to succeed. And, I'm sorry, moratoriums don't work. Well, I know. But it's kind of an either-or thing at this point for our city. We either commit to trying to house everybody who is here and keep them here, try to be a haven for people who, like me, came from somewhere else because it just really wasn't that safe to be where I was, and to come here and feel the love and the beauty of San Francisco.
District 8 needs a supervisor who is independent and who will fight for this district. City Hall is not stuck because there are bad people there, or a ton of bad people there not trying to do the right thing. They are stuck because they have failed to articulate a vision for this city, and they are stuck because they seem to believe and seem to expect us to accept that the way San Francisco is now, with an intolerable homelessness crisis, a seemingly unsolvable affordable housing crisis, an inadequate public transportation system, is something that we just have to accept.
Okay, thank you to both of the candidates. Thank you to the LGBT Center, and vote.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and I look forward to our next debate.